republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Whitehall Township has an obligation to affirmatively further fair housing and to review all land use applications in accordance with the federal civil rights statutes. This includes taking meaningful actions that overcome patterns of segregation and foster inclusive communities, free from barriers that restrict access to opportunity based on protected characteristics. The township and its land use decisions does not discriminate against persons on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, disability, or familial status, and reviews all land use applications in accordance with federal civil rights statutes. Public comments made on the basis of bias and stereotype concerning people within these protected classes will not be taken into consideration by the township in its deliberations. I have a motion to approve the minutes from last month. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Do I have any questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Mr. Secretary, will you please poll the board?
Commissioner Dutt.
Yes.
Commissioner Marks.
Yes.
Commissioner Howard.
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker. Aye. Commissioner Ginder.
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder.
Yes.
President Armstrong.
Aye.
Mr. Soniger, you had that backwards. I motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, before we start with the courtesy of the floor, I'm going to ask Mr. Dutt to give a report that's very pertinent to hopefully everybody that's going to be here. And usually we give these reports at the end of the meeting. However, at the end of the meeting, we don't have as many people in attendance, and I want to make sure we get the word out on this report. So if you will, Mr. Dutt.
Thank you, President Armstrong. Good evening. Many of you know about the opening of our senior center if you come to our monthly meetings. This is something that we're doing in conjunction with Lehigh County, and I've been talking about it for almost 2 years now. It's finally here. After almost 2 years of planning and negotiating, our center will be open on Tuesday, April 4th, 2017 at 10 a.m. The center is located at 2301 Pine Street, which is the West Catasauqua Playground Building. Festivities will start with a ribbon cutting ceremony, which is going to be hosted by the Chamber of Commerce. And the whole project with this would not be possible without all the support that we've received with the committee this year. So I want to thank a couple people and a couple organizations for that. Number one, I'd like to thank the Board of Commissioners for their support over the past time to help us open this. I also like to thank the Recreation Commission for allowing to go forward with this project. Mayor Ed Haza for his support in actually doing this. Like I said, the Board of Commissioners and the committee, which was formed a year and a half ago when we first started. And one of those members is here tonight, and that's Mr. Kerry Kramer. Thank you for all your support. This is a way for us as a community to come together. One of the things that was seen in the township that the committee really wanted to do was to bring forward more senior citizens activities. And we're able to do that with this center. So I appreciate and invite everybody to come to this opening ceremony. The activities for the senior citizens will start on May 2nd And at the opening ceremonies, we'll have many vendors, we'll have a raffle, and you can sign up for not only the activities that we're going to provide, but for the transportation to that center. So appreciate all the support, appreciate everything that's the committee has done, and thank you, and I hope you can attend this very important thing for our township. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dutt. Courtesy of the floor, Mr. Secretary.
Chris Fiedler.
I think we all have your address memorized by the
Well,
time.
we have to go on the record anyways. 5046 Foxdale Drive, Whitehall, Pennsylvania, Chris Fiedler. I wanted to touch base on Lisa, I believe it's Pascola, is that correct? Letter that she had sent to Township, I believe I saw something in the copy press actually today, was told me that we are working on something towards potential of an ordinance for this, is this correct? Are we gonna be able to make ordinance with
No,
that letter?
What we asked was, we asked Mr. Fonzone to look into that because we don't believe that Mrs. Pascola got it right.
Okay.
And he was gonna look into all the, back channel stuff to see exactly where we stand with the DEP. And that's where
I know we
we're at.
don't stand real well with DEP, but
Well,
I'm hoping
according-
this gives us some power. It'd be nice to have something.
According to her letter, we have jurisdiction, but we don't think that may be correct.
Okay.
So we will.
Her background is in county government, not local municipal government. And our solicitor and our assistant solicitor are formulating a response letter to Senator Boscola as well.
Hopefully it's a quicker return from her than the 4 months it took for this letter to get back to us. Unfortunately, it took that long. Another thing I want to touch base on last week, I asked about Beekman Road, if we get a stop sign today again, and it just seems like I'm the target. I'm sure I'm not the only person. I'm coming up from Sheets, and the guy comes out with his dump truck and tries to probably do about 25 miles an hour, didn't even stop at that intersection.
Never.
Came right across into the left lane. I pulled in front of him, I stopped him, I told him this is not his neighborhood, that you should drive like it's your own neighborhood. We need a stop sign down there. These guys are coming out of there, flying in and out of that place on a nonstop basis. And I just got a front row seat because I live there. I travel that road every day out to 145. So I asked about getting a stop sign there and getting us some yellow lines on that road so these guys stop coming into the other side. Can we get
I can call tomorrow.
is that something we can do?
I'll talk to the owner of the quarry tomorrow and
Okay.
request that the stop sign be put up immediately.
I mean, because we know.
It's a
that-
driveway, they have to, they should.
Yeah,
they should
and I mean, if you look, is that a township road or is that a driveway?
No, it's a
Okay.
driveway.
Okay, but there should be something there to just, leaving a yield sign.
No, it's stop sign,
Something else.
absolutely a stop sign.
Yeah, something there to, because these guys, I mean, we know the truck traffic that's coming in and out of that corner right now. And,
I can sympathize, I almost got it at the caboose
Yeah.
last week.
I drove out there this morning too, and I know that we have a lot of dust issues up there, and I don't really want to get too nuts about it, but I drove down there this morning, I was there about 6:30 in the morning, it was just getting light out, and it looked like I was driving through fog. And I probably saw about 25 to 30 trucks lined up the driveway, and I'm just wondering if this is where all the dust is coming to on our property, is being lifted up and being transferred over from there too. So, I mean, obviously, we're waiting on reports from DEP where the cement's coming from, but, I'm just trying cross elimination, so.
We're doing the same thing.
Another question is, I guess, would be, Jim Roth has mentioned a couple times about a weight limit on North Copley Road. Did anybody find anything on that ordinance for the weight limit on North Copley?
Carl found something about that, but I don't know where it went with that.
Yeah, and according to Carl's letter, there was,
Weight limits.
there were weight limits, and he was talking about signage.
Okay.
No truck traffic other than local, I believe.
Yeah, I'm not sure, I'll have to check back with Carl on that one. I don't have it tip of my head.
No, all right, I just, like I said, I would just keep everything all fresh in everybody's minds, you know what I mean, at the end of the day. And also too, with our road, North Copley again, we were promised that it was gonna get fixed in the fall. I understand the circumstances of why it hasn't gotten fixed. Do we have a timeline on when that road's gonna be repaired?
When spring breaks, we'll be able to take a better look at the base, because once you start digging into that, you've got to have a plan right away to
Yeah, I know we were talking about, there's a water line up there. that
Water
we have to
line
worry about.
and the fill over the water line, that has sagged. So Northampton wants to look at it first, And then, like I said, once we start peeling that back, we've got to have a plan in place to go very quickly right behind it to,
So are we looking at July, we looking
I
at
think before that, I would guess.
May maybe?
Probably, well, once the weather breaks, you can't really do much until May, when everything dries out. So
Okay.
you can start other construction, but you usually don't do road work until it's pretty well dried out in the wintertime.
All right.
So that's the.
Chris, the original request was in 2006
Yes,
for one-way northbound between Foxdale and Fox Run, and the second, no trucks over 5 tons, except for local deliveries. And on the attached agenda, showing a note of being pulled for lack of a study. So I will double
so
check.
it's
with
been on
them.
hold because of the lack of a study. What kind of study are we waiting on?
An expensive one.
Before I could say it,
An
Linda.
expensive one.
A lot of what you have to do is they do core borings of the road in several different places, analyze the structure of the pavement structure that's out there, the base below the road, and then once you establish that, you can establish a weight limit. And then the other thing you have to look at is the road geometry, how it zigzags through there.
Yes.
What kind of vehicle, what's the wheelbase, or maximum wheelbase can get through there. That study usually runs you anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000. And that's, you have to have that by law in order to put up the truck prohibited signs.
Another question.
And to clarify, it is, point number 2 is North Copley Road, not Copley Road.
Yes, no comment, yes.
That's the one on top.
No, that's the one closer to the river.
The one down by him.
Yeah, no, it is actually,
Not the
he's being
one-
smart, but it is actually
It
the
is.
closest one to the river.
What about North Copley?
That's North Copley.
That's North Copley, then what, and the other?
Copley is-
There's the
concrete
main one
road.
that
Oh,
runs.
Copley's pretty bad.
Yeah, Copley is
That's-
horrendous.
That's,
And that's my question too, is like, now I understand our detour for Copley Bridge being closed down is gonna be the Hock and Dock Road. I understand that being our detour, but we all know that it's quicker to get down to Northampton through our back way than it is Hock and Dock.
And we
There
are,
are a lot of concerns about that.
I am in discussions with Lafarge about using
There's
roller compacted concrete
Okay,
to redo from the top of the hill, no, the top of the hill down.
okay.
The section that was not done. And I think I mentioned this in earlier meetings, when that road was put in back in the day, there was not an adequate base put in. I'm sure that the Whitehall Cement donated the cement
are
at
you
the
talking
time.
about the Copley Road?
Copley Road.
Because that was done twice within the last 10 years, and every time they do it, within a
The
year or so
section,
it's
the
finished.
section that was done was a complete removal
Yes.
of all the concrete
Right.
base. And that's what is required of this
Yeah, that was
this
the
Right.
top of the
remaining
hill.
section.
Yeah.
But if you don't put concrete down on stone,
Yeah, it's gonna keep.
it doesn't, and then
Well,
it,
the thing is, we have concrete down the center, but the shoulders will not the concrete, so that's why I keep
Right.
dropping on the shoulders.
Right.
And the shoulders would stay up, then we actually will hold
well,
on.
and actually, if the area behind the shoulders was then taken down for water runoff, especially on the west side, where it's not draining into the Lafarge property, that's another issue. And then that water freezes and gets under the concrete, and then we have more heaving. So,
You're right.
thank you, Al. I will charge engineering rates.
You learned up good, that's right.
Thank you.
So with this extra traffic that we're gonna probably experience up here, is there still a possibility about getting a truck route from Copley Aggregates to shift them right back out to 145 where they came from instead of coming up Copley Road? Like, I've been asking for this truck route for the last 3 months, the last 3 meetings, I'd like to see them
To-
not, to
which-
come out of Copley Aggregates, go right back out to 145, because
That-
they're coming up, they're going across.
The
behind-
cement bridge empty.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, they're going across the Cement Bridge empty, instead of coming up Copley Road, they're adding all that truck traffic, and then if we're gonna have more regular cars and truck traffic up there, it's just gonna become a hazard, it's gonna become unsafe to our neighborhood up there. And we're gonna have enough problems up there.
Make another request to the owners of Copley Aggregates, Core Construction, Materials Handling Corporation. Did I think there's four different corporations there.
To be able to get an actual truck route in our township?
No, to make a request that their incoming is a certain truck route.
Okay, while we're having that with incoming, is there a possibility that we can, if this letter that we actually got from Lisa is actually holds stead, that we have some kind of power? Is there a way that we can tax a certain amount of trucks after 100 trucks come in
No,
for a road tax?
no. The DEP views the material as not municipal waste.
Well, I
So
mean,
there's no tipping fee that the township can negotiate with the owners. If there were
Some kind of tax that we
there should be,
do.
and that's something perhaps that our fine legislative branch in the state should bring up, because we're not the only municipality. Up in Bangor area, they're also bringing the material in, as well as Palmerton area. And those municipalities are also getting the wrath of the truck traffic on their road network. In addition, I mentioned last Monday, Woodbridge, New Jersey, where a lot of the material's coming from.
Yes.
Their roads are getting heavily damaged as,
I don't
But
know.
at the same time, I mean, they're coming up from here, these companies are making money off of our roads that our tax dollars are paying for.
Did you,
Somebody should be reimbursing us, why should somebody else be making all the money and then running away, and then we gotta clean up the mess?
you see that they're trying to, some of the other municipalities in the area are trying to get the state to have a loading door, $100 fee for every loading door you have at your warehouse, which would, there are some warehouses that would bring in $30,000 right there. That there's been no mention on any kind of fee that we could do. They're still struggling for that on the level with the state, trying to get that
I mean,
into.
DEP is not paying for these roads.
No,
They're allowing them to travel on them, but it's our tax dollars that are paying for these roads to be repaired. And, I think that at the end of the day, I think it's ridiculous that we have no power in our own township. But,
There are very many things the state requires us to do that cost a bunch of money, and they never give us a penny for anything.
yeah.
Nothing.
Mr. Fonso.
Chuck, when we talked last week at the workshop, I had to make a motion for tonight to have you look into this letter. Is it still a necessity, or, have we determined that this letter isn't correct?
We think it's incorrect, but we think the best thing to do is to meet with the senator.
My problem is the same problem as Chris here. How long are we gonna let this go on? I mean, it's been months, it's just ridiculous, and I was just as offended as you were probably when you got the letter sent to your house, right?
Yes.
Everything that you've been told for the last year, at least,
Yes,
was all incorrect, right, according to our state senator.
yes.
I mean, at some point, can we speed this up and get some sort of answer, please? Do I need to make a motion for you to look into that?
No, you did last week.
Well, you told me I had to do it this week. Is it all good?
I didn't say you had to do it.
Oh, I'm sorry, somebody else said it.
I mean, do we actually have to sit down with the senator, and is some of you can't get a phone call, that we have to actually spend a total ton of money?
Again,
Sit down.
you are preaching to the choir. I'm tired of hearing it. I'm tired of people giving us different answers.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, let's get an answer which way it is. I mean, if we can do something, let's do something. If we can't, then the
I mean,
DEP needs to
I don't
step up and do
understand why
something.
DEP has all this control over our
Well,
state.
it's not even that they have the control. If they have the control, great, come out and do something about it.
Yeah, they're not doing anything about it, that's the problem, they're not cleaning up the mess.
Yeah, we met, and
We're dealing with it.
that was, we thought was the best way to proceed, rather than having a confrontation with Mrs. Butzko.
I'm not looking for a confrontation, I'm looking for an answer. There's a big difference.
Yeah, because the verbiage that she's giving us in that letter, is that something that we can grasp onto and have some power?
We don't
The
think,
township.
we don't think so is the problem.
I don't think so either, but it's the way, some of the verbiage in there, it does seem like we have something in there.
Yeah.
And we can kind of control what's coming into these holes.
It's contrary to everything we heard over the last 12 years.
And if that's the case, if the letter is incorrect, why do we even need to meet with her, right? Why don't we just get an answer as to what we can do and move on from there?
Okay, where are we gonna get the answer?
DEP has already told us
From
we
the
can't,
DEP?
right?
Yeah, but is DEP really right? Or are they just out running around like every other
This
governmental
is the problem I
agency?
have, Phil.
I understand
So
your
the
problem.
DEP is telling us one way, we have a state senator telling us a different way, and now we're telling all the state senators wrong. Who has the right answer? How long do we have to wait for the right answer? It doesn't seem that difficult.
Mr. Fonzo,
Well, you're the government, Phil.
can you clarify this? Can you clarify here where it's,
Wow.
We
where
correct
it says
things.
the DEP
We
general
fix
permit?
them.
Give me something to throw.
Power, we take care of the
That's what I don't get. I just don't understand the problem.
Everything we.
Well, that's what I'm saying, that's why when I read this letter, I'm sorry, I walked with the microphone, but as I look at this letter where it says general permits, it's saying that constricted or superseded, amended, or authorized violations of any provisions of the valid applicable local law, ordinance, or regulations provided that said local law, ordinance, or regulations is not permitted by the Solid Waste Management Act. This means the municipality's government has oversight of the land development quarry reclamation sites despite the permit being issued by the state. The permit cannot be used over local law. What does that sound to me? That sounds like we've been fed a lot of crap from the DEP saying that we can't do anything about it, but we have all, but that statement to me says that we have a lot more power than what we're being led to be said. Bottom line.
Let's
Right or wrong?
go back. Let's go back to this exact location when, after they bought it at auction from Copley Cement, they proposed a landfill. Correct? Or an asphalt plant? What, just,
There's several.
what was it?
things.
Several things.
Plant, and then they wanted to put the coal ash, the
Yes,
cogen plant in there. That was the
Correct.
last thing, right?
right.
But they came through the process here at the township. And there was, based on the documents that are being scanned, a huge uproar
Well, there was,
in the community.
there was.
And this time, back in the 2006, 2007, or even after, initially, well, actually under 2001, after the World Trade Center, they started bringing this material in and then claiming it was all from the World Trade Center. And back then is the issue as to how did they circumvent then not a landfill, not an asphalt plant, but now we're going to bring in clean fill. That's where we need to go back to 2000, 2001 and look at that time frame as to how this morphed into what it is today. Am I correct?
I believe so.
Mr.
And
Mayor.
I also believe that it's much more reasonable or wiser to have a meeting with the senator rather than having some big to-do publicly
Correct.
that you're not gonna get a result and you're gonna generate a lot of hard feelings.
Would it be possible for that meeting to have somebody from DEP there also? Wouldn't that be the most beneficial meeting, that we would have DEP and her and us at the same table and get an answer?
You're reading my mind. What about, I was gonna suggest, we did
Well,
meet,
my great minds think alike, Frank.
one of the people that we met with in regard to the UGI quarry was one of the solicitors from Harrisburg who does nothing but DEP work, right? And he let us know where the line of jurisdiction was, all right? And it was pretty much how we've been following all along. Now, in regard to the Copley quarry and that fill, that may be somewhat more complicated because the township does have control over the land use, subdivision, things like that. Those local issues, we have that jurisdiction. However, once they apply for that DEP permit, we don't have any more jurisdiction. We have the right to comment, but that's about it. And that was, from his lips. So if we're gonna have a meeting, I would suggest that we contact that gentleman again and have him come in and we can all get an education.
Yes.
One time, but I agree with your suggestion, get somebody knowledgeable from the department to be in on that meeting so we can all have a pretty frank discussion about the whole process.
And I think it should be open to the public.
We'll see what they want to do.
I think, well,
I understand,
I-
Well, and
I mean,
maybe
Well,
even,
then everything will be secondhand again.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say
And we'll have to go
too
through
is
everything all over.
you took this from his lips, you didn't see
You
this
have nothing to
actually-
hide.
We didn't see this on paper, you took it from what he verbally says. It's just like an inspector who comes out to my job site and interprets a code instead of having a definition of a code. Does that make sense when I ask you like that?
I understand what you're trying to draw there, but if I'm sitting in the room with a attorney from DEP telling me where his limits are and as defined by our limits, I'll tend to believe him,
Well, I agree, I mean,
Okay, and again, I don't want to take anything away from him, but he's gone to court and has adjudicated hundreds of cases, that involve all these jurisdictional boundaries.
I mean, I don't know where Lisa got this statement from,
Well, that's
but where
what
it
I
says DEP general permits, I mean, it has an art of it.
There's enough in there, okay, to lend credibility, okay, when you first look at it, okay? What I need to do is have somebody from the DEP side vet that language and say, yes, no, maybe, all right? And I think that would be most helpful to do it, and if we are gonna go that path, I think an advance copy to that attorney from DEP would be appropriate, and let him absorb it, let him react to it, and we go from there.
I agree.
Frank, how can that individual make that decision, whether it's going to be open or not? I thought the disinfect is sunshine. We need sunshine.
I don't know that part of the.
Well, I don't see how he could deny us, I mean, we'd have, the entire board should be there.
Okay,
Then that's sunshine.
I can certainly defer to the solicitor.
Well,
In my dealings with these agencies.
how can they supersede us doing
We
that?
generally have a staff meeting at staff level first.
That's why everything's not on your part, I'm not saying,
No, I understand
everything gets
that, but-
twisted up and then it's all secondhand.
Right, but it lends itself to a more open and frank discussion,
Yeah.
okay? And there's certain questions that we would have that it's a lot easier to speak about that when you just have a staff level discussion. Not saying we shouldn't have anything in public, but
Oh, I
that's
just
been my
want to say,
experience.
if I have anything to say, my
Who-
opinion would
here's
be
the-
public.
Attorney Fonzon, who would be the local level for the Attorney General's office from the state? I think that's where you gotta go to the answer. You gotta go to the State Attorney General's office. Because all you're gonna get is the DEP stretching their authority out, and you got a senator telling you they got this authority. To me, you gotta go to the Attorney General's office, and you need a legal opinion on this, do we or don't we? That's just my thinking. Is there a local? I know you won't get the Attorney General for the state of Pennsylvania, it's not an election year. But, is there a local office for the state Attorney General that you can get that person in here and have a real legal opinion on this? Without batting it back and forth and having everybody defend their territory.
Well,
And that's the legal opinion, it either is or it isn't.
the acting secretary of DEP is a graduate of DeSales University. And I can reach out to him, he's helped us before, so I think if we can get him here with Lisa and the DEP attorney, that would be the avenue, Phil.
Because I'm just scared to death, these governmental agencies, they love to expand their borders and grab as much as they can.
Yes.
And a lot of it doesn't belong to them. I'm sorry, that's my
That's what I'm
opinion.
getting from this letter.
And dealing with these agencies is, to me, is just a waste of time because you don't get nothing done with them. That's just my opinion.
I mean, they did help us up with the UGI. I understand that DEP did help us with the UGI site a lot with the dust and controlling the stuff up there. But otherwise that, I just feel like we're getting the wool pulled
But
right.
here we have a question of DEP, what they're telling us, and the state senator is telling us.
But the
I
problem
mean,
is
I
that
think you
we're
gotta go
being told
up,
this.
you gotta kick it up a level to get the right answer to that one, without dicking around with this thing for another 6 months.
Right.
Mr. Mayor, one tool we have in our toolbox is the scales. Now,
Commissioner,
we did not.
we cannot legally send out or make a request as an elected official to target.
Well, I'm not asking to target anybody specifically, I'm just, there could be some road
And
trials.
I've been told that from my first police chief.
Okay,
I'm now on number 3.
can I ask this question
Yes.
without asking that question? I read in the police chief's report last month that we were out 3 times. Now that our manpower levels are up, is it possible to get out on the street more?
Yes.
Okay.
It is possible to get on the street more,
Okay.
but it is not possible to say,
Right, fair enough. Why don't we get our enforcement people out there more?
and Chief may be here, he's at a conference, so he's trying to get back.
Okay.
So he may have the answer for that.
If nothing else, not only do they drive like crazy on your road, they speed down 145.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, they were racing.
This
I used to
morning.
race all the time.
This morning, 4 of them.
And if you want, It's a race.
Yeah, it is, from light to light, and then it's dangerous, and instead of being reactive, we need to be proactive.
I've even seen them running lights at Shot Avenue.
And not that
Three trucks in a row through a red light.
Not that I'm going at anyone specifically, but I think that it would be a deterrent to some of these, to anyone,
Yes.
that if they see more law enforcement out there and we're more proactive, they may think twice about where they're going and how they're
Be a little
doing.
more respectful on our roads.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, and while you're at it, write a letter to Lisa Buscola that she should now support radar. Because Pennsylvania is the
No, I have a
only,
Mustang, I don't
the
think.
Is it red?
but the only state in the union, and I'm preaching again, but the only state in the union that